Well, hello and welcome to the second episode of the self-indulgence of the unemployed. During October, I ran through a number of drafts and old drawings that I wanted to revamp for November. Well, it's now early morning, December 2nd. Bum, 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 bum. Wah, 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 wah. Failure. But the good news is that I did get quite a few of those done and ready to go. So, without the whimpering, let's just get right into it. What you're looking at there is a Walther PPK. It's James Bond's gun, actually. And I did a drawing of it a couple nights ago. And this was a referenced picture, actually. I got it from a magazine. And actually had some really pleasant results. But there were some things that could have been better, I guess, if I had taken more time. And I just want to point out a few of those things. But before I do, I want to mention something right off the top, which pertains to this drawing. Hang on. Okay. Well, let's look at something here. Look at this. Yeah, it happens, right? What are we looking at here? See this? Marker dying. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Right? What we have here is some sort of, it's like a Sharpie knockoff. Same deal. Roughly the same price, but anyway, eventually they run out. And you get something like this. No longer black, you get like a gray smudge coming up. You can probably see that. Look at that. Shit, eh? Well, I guess time to throw it out. Wait. Not so fast. We won't be throwing this out. But look how it writes. Yeah. Look how it writes. Exactly right. More on that later. So as it turns out, this drawing, which would be more like a prop, actually becomes part of the embellishing of one of the drawings that I brought up to date from a few years back. One of the pile, you'll soon find out what that one was. I did several episodes of on the board, showing what was on the table and up and coming. And you'll see some of them this episode. But yeah, this gun was used as a prop. Anyway, might as well get right into it. Let me tell you about it. Well, as you can see, it's a head-on shot. You can almost call it a technical drawing, really. I used a photograph to use as a reference. Well, it was only because it was the only one that I came across. I wasn't sure if I was going to, it wasn't necessary that I was going to use I wasn't looking for a Walther PPK, right? Actually, I had thought of other guns, 9mm, Colt 45, etc., whatever. For one of the drawings, I wanted to apply it to. Make it part of it. But I suddenly thought of this magazine that I had, and I remember this picture, and I said, isn't there a picture? Yes, there is. And I found this one, and I decided to go with it. So, right off the bat, I got first I did my brief outline, just using a pencil, and then a very fine liner, right? And then going about the various areas. Now, this cold steel up here, it looks more complicated because of the shadowing and stuff, but it's really not. I mean, what you're looking at really is just like, look at it for what it is. Don't be fooled by the reflections to make it look complicated. It's simply black ink, you know, along this tubular section, black ink along the top, dark, then taking our so-called dead marker and going under it. You see, yeah, you can utilize these dyeing markers for different reasons. Since we're talking about black inked line work, right? Your fading markers can actually be used. I would almost call it like it's like a poor man's zipatone, because you got these blacks and whites and these in betweens. And to prove that you can use these and that they will come up in your photocopies, I used this particular version of the drawing I did, which is a photocopy. It is a photocopy of the actual drawing. The actual drawing being much larger. And you can see the correction fluid, etc. in there. Correction fluid, right, all through there. Now, the thing is, it comes up as a gray, as a different, you know, it's a close value to the blacks and the whites that it's surrounded by. But you know what I mean? You can use it. Say, like, for example, this, you know, sometimes you have to make changes when you're doing line work, right? Because line work isn't like painting. You're capturing real form, but you may not capture the real light essence or color essence. Obviously not color, but what am I trying to say? To give you an example, see this area here? This was a black metal. Yes, it was, but it also had a lot of light shadow in it. So it didn't look like a solid black. But to give a crisper look, I went for one tonal value here, dark, right? For solid black. Because it works better in contrast to the butt of the gun, right? Now, obviously these gripped areas add some texture, really easy to do. Had to be careful to leave in the light edged highlights, right, to show that texture. And some of you may be looking at this drawing and you already have questions. In two particular areas I can talk about. Now that I've gotten past the idea of using the drying markers for a separate tone, I'd move to these two areas here in question, right? Now, this area here, okay, the closer you get up to it, the more you can see the flaws in it. But when you stand back and look at it, I have to say I'm very pleased with this. Like, this turned out really well, this printing. Except for maybe the B and let's see. That's all good. That's all good. And the C's a little bit warped. Otherwise, those fonts did come out like amazing. And I remember when I was doing them too. Now, the original is a little bit larger, so I guess the smaller it would be, the harder it would be. So it made it a little bit easier. The idea, I knew that when I drew it, I was going to shrink it down anyway. I wanted to tighten it up and give it that extra detailed look. But when I went in there with a 0.1, like a very fine tip to do that. I'm going, like, even if I can do this, my hand's going to shake or something, and it's going to, it's going to skip or something. I'll fuck this up for sure. But I never, I don't know, I can't remember experiencing that much luck when it came to fonts doing this. I am so happy that came out that way. I want to be able to say, oh, that's such a boost of confidence knowing that I can do that. But you know what? I'm not real confident that I could do it again. It just worked out that way. Now, the Walther logos here and here, I screwed up horrendously. And, you know, compared to this, these two would seem easy, you would think, right? And they are, and they should be, but no, I took a shit on them. This L was a little bit too close to the edge. I had to put in some whiteout, and this just got way out of hand. And the problem was the reference I was using from a magazine had a, you know, was in the middle. It was a 2-page spread, right? So in the middle where the pages fold around into the spine, it was all fucking warped in here, and I couldn't really tell what I was looking at. And I had, even though I had done this already, this one first, when I got here, somehow I took a brain fart and forgot the shape of the actual sign, not even considering the fact that they would probably be of the same shape and all that. You know, the direction of the outlying border and all that. So ended up screwing up the W. You can see evidence of correction fluid even through the photocopy. But anyway, patched that up, got it back the way it was supposed to do. That A is still touching a little, but I'm going to let it go. But, you know, at the same time, you know what I mean? If you get real up close, you can see where the one tang of the A is touching the outside border, which is not supposed to be happening. But anyway, it looks all right. So that was that. What can I say? I'll just wrap that up and say, yeah, was astounded how well this came out. Could I do it again? I don't know, man. I mean, I'll probably be in positions where I'll have to try to do that, but I can't believe it got, oh yeah, and the E too didn't quite look, I don't know how much you can see with this camera anyway. I plan to get I want to get a better camera for the high def, but I guess what I'm just saying is when you get up close, you can see where the flaws are in the lettering. But at least it's straight, you know what I mean? And it looks pretty damn good, I gotta say. But it's not something that I can guarantee I can always do, especially, you know, I mean, you know, if you got a steady hand for that, you got a steady hand. But I don't know. I've been known to shake a bit, even when I'm using a paintbrush for inks lately. And that's another topic altogether we'll get into later. At the end of my stroke, my hand may twist, or I'll move my wrist or something, and then my line will break. And it's annoying. That's a whole different area of study, something new. Now, the second thing to consider was the knurling in the butt here. This was, you know, there was no getting away around it, okay? Basically, now, it doesn't look the same as my reference. And there's a couple of reasons for that. It would be very difficult unless I blew the image up to the size of, I don't know, like if decided to blow my reference up and my drawing up to, you know, I don't know, 4 times this side, maybe I'd have better luck. But basically what you're looking at when you're looking at a knurled texture like this in a gun butt, it's basically, I want to say it's you know, cross-hatched lines one way and the other, but actually that's not quite true. The lines that you'd be seeing, which represents the white in this texture, is actually empty space. So you can't really call them lines, you know what I mean? They created an illusion of lines, but they're not. What you're actually looking at are tiny, tiny squares, tilted on an angle which gives you diamond shapes, right? Just, you know, tons and tons of little diamond shapes, and they're all supposed to be the same and whatever, right? So basically, you know, I looked at that and I thought, well, there's two ways to go about it. I can go like this and make all equal thickness lines cross-hatching each other, and then just try and fill in the diamonds, but remembering to leave white space. Like, it's difficult. But what I ended up doing is, when I started in the corner, I just kind of like penciled in some lines, some guidelines. I thought, well, fuck, I can erase them later after I play the ink, just like a normal comic book drawing or line drawing, right? But even so, even after you're doing that, you have to get in there with that fine tip and just start making those little square shapes, and at the same time leaving a little space of white in between them so they can be distinguished, right? And as I'm going along, I'm like, wow, these are really not all coming out the same, and it's not really good. But anyway, the overall result, and that took a long time. You wouldn't believe how long that took to do. The result is, yeah, you get a knurled surface. And this knurled surface, as far as I'm concerned, is just fine for this drawing. I can't imagine, but I don't know, right? At my level of skill, I put it this way. I couldn't see someone doing it too much better, unless they took like a photograph and then, you know, I don't know. I was going to say just trace, but even that would be difficult with this here. For the outline, sure, you could do it, but I mean, for here, I don't know. If they faded the picture or reference they had on a photocopy down, and then just like actually drew over the photo or the paper itself, the photocopy itself, to get those diamond shapes. I'm not fucking doing that. But anyway, that's as close as I could get to it, and I was quite happy with it. Put it that way. It, you know, right? It could have been worse. And as I was going along, and believe me, folks, I mean, it took what, I don't know, close to 4 hours. I'm telling you, it's not as easy as you think. And I mean, just this section alone. And as I'm going along, I just, you know, your mind starts to wander, and you have to keep disciplining yourself, telling yourself, okay, keep in line, make sure you're parallel here. Don't let the lines get too out of, and sometimes they do. If you look in certain areas, it looks a little warped and bubbled. But in actuality, the thing could be warped and bubbled if it was a different texture. But this particular model, what it is, it's like a plastic molded, consistent texture. So it wouldn't be like that. But this still works, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so not too much more to say about this, except that this unit was used in one of the revamps that we'll soon see. So let's get on with the first of our reworks. Okay, so first up is this it's our image of our Vampirella character. This is a ink pen drawing over pencil from 1993 or thereabouts. 1993. 93. Yeah, entering it 93 going into 94. Now, unfortunately, as you can see here, this image experienced a lot of water damage. Right across here, there was a smudge here. Right across here, slid through, right straight through the page. And let's see. Another spot So right in here is water damage, and there's some down here as well. But let me just show you down here as well, right? I'll bring that back up. Yeah. So I was rather fond of the image, and I wanted to keep it. So I decided I was going to find a way to bring it up. Now, I mentioned before that this actual image was a lot larger. It used to have another 2 inches right around this edge on this side. Right? Oh, can you see my... Oh no, I guess you can't. Well, anyway, there was another 2 inches over here that was cut off, and as well as another 2 inches at the top. And basically there was some pencil line work, very faint. You can see some of it here in the corner. It's simply an individual sitting on the end of a bed they're sharing where he's peeling off his shirt. So it's an interlude, a segue into some sort of drama, whatever. But that section has been so water damaged now, I'm not going to be messing with it anytime soon. I did keep it for the, I don't know, something self-indulgent in keeping the actual original work. Like, I'm just like that. But anyway, I decided to go ahead without that section and go ahead and make amends to the image here that we're concentrating on this face here. And as I was going to do that and salvage this image and kind of go in and, I don't know what you'd call it, embellish and refurbish those damaged areas. I also saw some things on the face that I thought I might like to change, and I did go ahead and do that. I thought this image was going to be one that I could say was another demonstration of using those failed felts where they're fading. But actually it's not. Actually, what you're looking at here, like in the eyes here, as well as the brow, it's all linear shader or pointillism. It's, there's no phony baloney stuff. Anything coming close to that would be the water damage itself. But anyway, moving on. So as we get started with that, it would be, of course, a matter of creating some photocopies and getting rid of some of this bad line work here in the hair and all the water flawed spots. Okay, so the first thing I did is I went in with my first copy, and basically at the edge of the hairline here where the 2 major water damage points begin, I just outlined, basically isolating the perimeter of the hair, right, by whiting out all this, right? And then I got nuts. The whiteout I used, the correction fluid, is just a white acrylic paint, a white opaque paint. I was searching for some sort of solution to replace some of the whiteout that I was having trouble with. I got so sick of those things, I don't know if you've ever bought them, correction fluid or whiteout, whatever you want to call it, liquid paper. It's garbage, it hardens too fast, and by the time you've done your first job with them, the brush is all clumped hard together, and, it's just a mess. So I'm going with the acrylic until I find an even better product, which is, I don't know. This is just fine. But anyway, after I'd done that, and I isolated the areas that were going to need repair, started looking at it and started thinking, well, what am I going to do here? Am I going to white out these areas where the damage is? What am I going to do here? Well, in the meantime, until I had an answer, I went back into the face and started looking at some of the flaws, some of the lines I didn't like, shapes of the nose, the contours, the line work of the nose, some of the flaws on the page, some scratching, some water damage down here on the front of the bikini, down here by the shoulder, out here by the leg, cleaning it up, knocking off that bad line work with the correction fluid, so on and so forth. So this is the actual copy that I did put the fluid on. You can see it's standing out as a texture. So that's what we have to look at this point. Okay, so after that, take another photocopy. Correction fluid has been applied, so now what we just get is white paper across here, no blotching or anything. This is the result of our first stage of correction fluid, getting rid of some of that bad line work. So here we go, right up the page here. White, 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 right? No smudging, no bad lines, whatever. We're blanking things out at this stage, blanking things out. Then it hits me what I'm going to do here. I'm not going to use just straight whiteout with this. I will be using some whiteout in here, but for a different reason, and I'll show you how and why. Anyway, I've decided to do something else with these areas. And if some of you saw what I did with the Elysius project when I was, I had come across the problem with her uniform or costume, making a template. Well, that's what I did here too. Let me show you. So with a separate piece of paper, I laid it over top of these images, and I traced myself out some outlines of the damaged areas, right? You see that? This section here represents this here, right? And this other section here at the top, right, represents this area here, and then some, and part of the contour of the face. You see how that works, right? Right? So the idea was to cut, this is a photocopy of the other ones that were cut and pasted on, right? But cut these out and paste them on. So we'll go ahead to the next copy to see what that would look like. And then it would look like something like this. You see that? Now we've got, that whole section has been replaced, right, with the template. And I've gone ahead and whited out some of the areas of smudge and line that shouldn't be there. So basically all that follicule work in that hair will have to be redone. It's not as hard as you think, folks. It's really quite a, it's a this one is like a 3-part process. It's real simple. But enough about that for now. I'll show you, I'll give you an example of it when we're getting closer to the end of the video. But at this point, still some more dots and stuff, some photocopy marks that were whited out, more correction fluid, laying it down. Now the nose has virtually been wiped away. That will be replaced. And I decided to replace her mouth. I didn't like the mouth. Shape was okay, but it got really rough in there. A lot of indecision between linear shading and I don't know, just one of those things where I was like, this doesn't look good. I'm not being bold with the blacks inside the mouth, so it's, it looks scratchy. So why don't we just replace that and figure that out later? So I'd go ahead with the next photocopy. Which looks like this. Excuse me. Actually, no, back up. This one is the one with the template on it. And you can see here where a section has been put in, right? See, you face a problem when you're talking about hair and putting a template in, because a lot of these locks, you'll see, if I just isolate the water damaged area, I got a line that goes right across follicles and all that, right? So it cuts directly across. And basically what you'd be saying is, yeah, you're going to line up all those follicule lines with the new section of the lock of hair, oh my God, you'll go crazy. So what you can see is that later I went in and put in another section, so I would just basically be redoing the follicles instead of trying to line them all up. That would just, you know, I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but God, it would be so easy to screw that up. And this way it will work so much better. It'll, you know, they'll look a bit more uniform, like they were always meant to be there, that sort of thing. That's the point, right? That's the point of the template, to just lay it in there gingerly, right? Oh, and I made a template here of this whole section. I forgot to mention, yeah. The front of the bikini, her breast, her chest, this part of the hair follicle, right? The strap. This is actually a template too. I forgot about that, yeah. You can see the line here. It's glued right on. It's pasted on. Getting ahead of myself. But yeah, that was templated too. So I went ahead. And let's see. So yeah, this is what you end up with at this stage, right? You know, with all the clean lines, right? Your basic outlines, your basic contours, clean lines. But you still didn't have a nose. But yeah, and obviously the hair was filled in, as you can see it, right? For what it is, you know? Okay, actually, you know, I'm going to do another video concerning this technique of hair and one other that I incorporated that worked out even better than this. Actually, much better, from around the same time. And it did involve the use of those dyeing markers. I'll put it that way, to be utilized in it too, and the result was fantastic. It was an accident I had stumbled across, but learned a new technique in the process. You gotta love when that happens. But anyway, for now, I'll just tell you the basics, okay? We'll take a lock of hair. Look at this lock here, right? Or actually, here's a better one. This one here. We'll look at this one. Yeah, this one here. So what you tie in your lock, right? Which probably extends down here to the bottom, right? But let's go section by section. So in this method, what you do is you isolate the lock with a thick outline. A thick outline, because this is comic book texture, folks. Remember that. So we got a thick black line. Now, what I was doing is, if the lock was thick enough, I divided into sections, usually 3. You can see another thick line, 2 thick lines running through the lock, right? 1 and 2. And then go in with your follicles, right? But do it like not all the way through, right? Not all the way through, because you want to leave some light blank areas to suggest a highlight. So I went in, did the follicles, real chicken scratchy actually, if you look at it, right down here at the bottom. Left the space, then again, midway through, across, left a space, then got to the top, and did some chicken scratch again. And that's it. That's all. Now, and you do that enough times, and you clump that hair together, and you got, boom, you got that effect. It's really simple. It's really simple. Now, this particular method isn't as realistic as the one I want to show you later, which is also straight line work with black inks and pens. But this one's interesting, and I like it sometimes. It's, I like the look of it, but if you want to even go a bit more realistic, you can. It's easier than you think, is what I'm saying. I'm no expert, but I've certainly learned a trick or two, and we'll show you that a little later on. So then it was time to draw in the new features and the nose and the mouth, and it ended up looking something like that. Okay? She's got a nose job, much better. I like it much better. The mouth is reworked, it looks better. And as I was going around the drawing, I looked and I saw some spots and smudges and stuff on the actual drawing, and went in and added some more correction fluid to go back in to get those finals off. Didn't get it, like this figure, this bust or whatever, pretty much takes up the whole paper. So there, I'm not saying that's why I didn't do it, but the truth is I did not bother with the background in this, but felt I could get away with it because of the subject matter taking up so much of the space. But anyway, it deserved one more photocopy. And the end result was right here. So we managed to preserve this image, repairing the water damage with successive copies. How many? Oh, must be 6, something like that. Creating the templates to replace the locks of hair that were damaged by the water, replace the bikini portion and the strap and portion of the hair above it. Totally whited out the nose and mouth, got rid of them and replaced them. And that's the image I have now, and I'm pleased with it. So at this point, I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, next was this guy here. This is from 2001, as you can see. It's made on the back of computer printout paper from running a CNC job inside the machine shop. Usually nights or afternoon shifts I could get away with doing these doodles. But anywho, it's, as you can see, just simple ballpoint pen, blue ink, simple image. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. Yeah, so anyhow, as I said, 2001. I believe. Was it 2001? Hold on now. Hold everything now. Do I got that right? Ah, yes. Okay. So 2001, and as you can see, it's a very simple image. Very simple shape, contours, female contours, half body shot. Get the nylons, the panties, and this, as you see, I don't know if this camera picks this up, but can you see that? It's like a butt of a gun tucked in front. That idea was something I was just kicking around. As you can see, like the lines aren't defined because I wasn't sure about it. I didn't really have a reference for the gun, but I would imagine it would be. At first, I remember making sounds like, oh, I guess that would be like a 38 snub nose, right? But more realistically, that would probably be like a 22 pistol, something you could conceal, right? Anyway, wasn't sure I was going to keep that image. Well, the first thing to do was, of course, and you could see like this pretty dirty, you got carbon here on this, smudges and stuff, from the machine shop, right? I mean, it's hard to keep them clean. What can I say, folks? Okay, so right off the bat, I might as well say this right now. I wasn't sure if I was going to go with the blue ink and do a colored copy or go for the comic booky black and white. It's usually better to go with the black and white ink. You can between photocopies and black and white line work, you can work with it because you're going with just a black and white image, right? So it's a little bit more simple. You don't have to worry about blemishing of correction fluid coming up as another color or something like that, whatever. But I was indecisive about it. And so I had gone ahead and made a black and white copy. And this one I went over with a pen, defining the edges and outlining again with a pen. As you can see, it soaked through a bit, you know. And but I also did one, right, of the blue ink too. Now, but take a look at something here for a second, okay? I want you to look at the areas, I guess where you could say where the waist would be meeting the bottom ribs, the ribs closest to the pelvic girdle, you know, the lower small ribs, right, where the rib cage would begin. I guess I'm saying on the sides. Think about that for a moment, right? Now, see, yeah, right away, I decided I was going to start playing with those areas, if you get my meaning, right? Sort of like, you know, give this area some more shape, right? Where the rib cage begins, giving it more of a hourglass look, right? Extending into the hip and, you know, putting a radius around the rib cage because it looked kind of flat on the other drawings. Then, of course, I started looking at the flaws, looking at the copy flaws, whatever, any smudges, any line work I wanted to get rid of, get out that correction fluid, go nuts, go nuts. See, even though this is in black and white, you can still apply this correction fluid, and how you avoid it showing up in your color copies, if you decide to go color, is what I mean. You just lower the density, right? You lower the density so these blues come off as really slight, and then you just go back with your pen right over top the copy, and you know, and work from there. But anyway, very quickly, I decided, nah, don't be doing that. Go right for the black and white images and start working with your correction fluid again on those. And I went ahead and started working things out, got the rib cage where I wanted it, got things basically where I wanted it, you know, tightened up the edges of the square around there. And her right leg is extending past that border, kind of like that idea, left it there. And I thought, well, basically, if I'm going to preserve the image, it's pretty much done. Just deserves another photocopy, right? Right? You get another photocopy and then do the outlines on it. The octopus was reworked, and that's all good. Everything's good. Good. And just consider the blank space around the image and what you're going to do to fill in there. And you, at that point, I would go to the next stage. And what I ended up doing is, let's see now, we got 3 stages here. Let's see now. Yeah, okay. So I drew something in the outline, right? What you got there is the Union Jack, as you can see that, right? The Union Jack, right? In the back, and there's a spot where the Union Jack is being burnt through. Sort of like the Bonanza opening, right? Ding, 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 where the map and the Ponderosa stuff is burning through. Well, anyway, you can see through the burnt hole, minarets down in the corner, and you can fill in the blanks there, people. I don't know if you know what's going on in the world around you today, but anyway, that's the image I got. And I started putting in correction fluid around. You see those little dots of correction fluid there? Yeah, I don't know what it is, but on sometimes the copy machine, I don't know if it's just a matter of, you know, clearing the screen, wiping it down or something, but there's often little black dots left, no matter what you do with the density. And so it's kind of unavoidable sometimes. So I ended up putting correction fluid in again, you know, touched up the the cards, etc. And ended up with the finished photocopy like this after the whiteout has been applied and stuff. So you got the Union Jack, the burning, the minarets, the card embellished. I put some more shade underneath the breast. Touched up the belly button. As I said, the octopus was touched up too. But we're still not done. And that's where I got the idea to put in the PPK. You know what I mean? Just seemed fitting. Now more than ever. If you get my meaning. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm putting this stuff up there. It's just, you know, this is line work, folks. But yeah, again, I'm looking at that prop of the PPK, and I think, it looks so good. And I'm glad I went with the fading marker method too, right? It's a great technique. I mean, look at that. That's an even smaller photocopy, right, of that same image, and it comes up great. It comes up like you got your black and white line work, right? But it comes up as a gray. It just works. So, I don't know. I think it's worth utilizing. Like some, you know, I think some of you are familiar with the Zipatone that they, you know, some people still use today in their work. Some of the old schoolers and that. But this is an idea that works too. If you want to put a gray in, a shade over something, save those markers. Don't throw them out. Don't throw them out when they start to fade like that. Designate them as your gray or close value ink pens. I don't know how else to put it. So that's that one. Rather pleased with it. And yeah, it was worth the doing. I don't know, wasn't it? Again, another 5 or 6 copies in a process of working and re-elaborating and all that stuff. So very good. So next up is another one from 2001. Again, from the shop. Working on the back of computer printout paper from one of the jobs I was running. Again, blue ballpoint pen, probably a Papermate. Judging by the hue, looks, yeah. Yeah. So, oh, it extends down there. You want to take a look at that. There you go. So, to begin with, this one had turned out pretty well, but there are construction lines in it that were left behind. As you can see, the pelvis and bone lines through here, some lines that got away from the figure outside here, some construction lines in the shoulder, through the face, through this arm, you can see it, through there. They'd all have to be eliminated, obviously. And the wings weren't completed. They're outlined, but not really completed. This one's pretty much structured in, right? And what you're looking at there, folks, is like an angelic-like figure. Obvious, female nude. With, if you see this through the torso, it's an arrow going through it. Center shot in mid-flight. You know, sun in the background, birds, clouds, all that good stuff, right? So basically, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna try and, you know, maintain this image. Probably gonna stick with the blue because it's not that dirty. A little bit of correction fluid here and there, but knowing at the same time we're gonna have to start with our first photocopy, and that one let's see. Yeah, and also I decided to keep the density low when I went there. Sorry about the notes. It's other stuff all over this thing here. But yeah, as you can see, there's correction fluid all about it, around the face, down the legs, through the feet, around the figure, you know, in various spots. So that's basically just, you know, getting in the first photocopy to work with and whiting out some of that bad line work. Okay, then move on to the next. Let's see what we got here. I gotta put these in order. Yeah. But you know, some of these you look at and they just, let's see. Oh yeah, I really went to town on. Oh yeah, right. Forgot about these. Okay, very good. Well, anyway, I just decided to start after I got my corrections in. I just decided to start drawing around it. And I don't know what we got there. We got like a broad object here. I don't know if it, at this point I'm thinking, is it going to be a building or what? It's some sort of flat surface. Here too, threw in this you know, sharpened up the edge of the shards of sun rays. In the bottom again, oh gee, what do you know, minarets and evidence of smoke. Elaborating on the clouds a bit, tightening them up. In the bottom left-hand corner, you see two things. A symbol of royalty at the bottom, and a gladius, or Roman sword, with the image of a key in it. The sword. Sorry. Anyway, got those outlines in, started roughing those in, was happy with the figure pretty much, but those wings still had to be completed. It was on to some elaborating a bit more. And so I did. Kept going on it. And like the blues, of course, the broad base on the side there ended up being a portion of the Union Jack, which seemed to be catching fire at the bottom again. Same theme. You know, tightened up some of the clouds, finished up the wings, got in there and finished up the structure of the wings. A little bit of correction fluid up here by the sun and stuff. Down there by the hourglass. That's an hourglass, folks, right? As in time slipping away, folks, kind of thing. Yeah. Riots down in the on the street there. Yeah, great. Yeah. So this would require a final photocopy that came out like this, minus the correction fluid, and that's what I ended up with. And I was happy to be able to retain the image and, you know, throw some things in there to fill up the page. Hey, why not? Very good. On to the next. Yeah, so I suppose you remember this one. I remember talking about this and explaining that some of these that I held on to, they're rather conventional. There's not much going on to them. There's not always a lot of action going on. This is a basic female nude head-on shot. I remember, again, this was on the back of computer printout paper, done in the shop, kind of like pin-up work, whatever. I remember discussing before there were issues with the waistline and the rib cage and the hip area, where they came in and dissected it. You can see it dissects the arm straight through, and this thumb on the other side. And the structure basically isn't finished here with the hand and stuff, but I figured before I did that, I was going to have to go back and, you know, correct this, you know, get that bad line work through the wrist out and through the thumb and stuff, and restructure and look at it. So, of course, again, that would start with, oh, and yeah, right. It's, this one is from, it's from 2008, actually. And it is black ballpoint pen. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at some of the first photocopies. And so right off the bat, went in there with the correction fluid, went right for that wrist and that thumb. A few areas along the hips, around the elbow, some line on the contour of the shoulder and the arm, etc. You know, kind of tidying up around here, around the breast, around the clavicle, a little bit up here by the face, underneath the lip and the side of the nose, a little correction fluid. Not much to this one, so not a lot of places to go. Left in that shading, didn't bug me that much, right? I figured, well, it goes down the right side of the face and all the way down to the hip, around the rib cage. Would I have to do that with the whole arm? I don't think so, because this arm, it appears like it can be dipping into a different light source, if you know what I mean, away from that shadow. So I left it as is. So yeah, that would leave an image looking something like this, right? Once that whiteout has been photocopied over, whatever, bringing up the residual line work, so you have this image. Now at that point, let's see here. What do we got? 3 or 4? Let me just count them here. Right. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, and then I just went to town on it, folks. I don't know what to tell you. I went until no tomorrow. This isn't. This is all like in a couple of sessions, right? Where it just all pretty much was. I pushed for completion here, and so I put in most of the work. So it's a totally different image, right? I just surrounded her in other things, right? So now what you're looking at is her destination, where she ended up in this what appears to be sequential art. And I say appears to be, right? Well, let's look at the image for what it is. So no, I just got this idea that such a conventional pose required something conventional in action, I guess. And so that's just like one of those large chest of drawers mirrors, or a large bedroom mirror. You can't see the whole thing. Perhaps it's on a swivel, I don't know. And in the background you see a changer in the background, some clothes flipped up there, a picture on the wall, etc., etc. Down there you got, inner dialogue going on there, thoughts, right, and then titles down at the bottom there, kind of making a joke. If you've heard of Wally Wood, you might kind of get the joke because it's kind of racy, you know. Anyway, just having fun there. Didn't write a script for this damn thing, but I wanted to retain the issue and put it in a setting that, I don't know what I'm trying to demonstrate there exactly. But anyway, went on from there to continue, right? Put in a bit more detail, and then started going in with the correction fluid. Boy, when I get going with the correction fluid, I really, I get carried away with it. I want everything to be perfect, right? So I go around the edges of the line work, or around the edges of the fonts, around the letters, right? Even portions that you wouldn't normally think would need the work, but I don't know. Put them in there, kept going. And you can see the completion of the right hand is in there. And now the fingers are gripping, right? The measuring tape on the waist. Someone just checking, right? The figure, right? Kind of thing. That's the idea. Like I said, the inner dialogue going on there, what the person's thinking, whatever. Got that white out, and it would require one more copy. And the final was starting to look something like this. You know, after the final process. And there you had it. You got, you know, captions and title work, and put a foreground and a background on those images, and yeah, it works. It's believable. There you go. So got to keep the image, and as well as put it in a decent setting, or not decent setting. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, whatever. So next, I think we got one more. Yeah, one more for now. Oh, maybe a couple. Oh, well, that all depends, actually. These are different things. But definitely one more. Let's get on with it. This next one, you probably remember this one. It's the image of, I don't know, somewhat cartoony, comic booky looking face there. Incomplete drawing. Another one from the shop. Blue ballpoint pen. Rough outline. Sunglasses or glasses up at the top of the head. Whatever. I don't know. I like the image. Definitely needed a nose job. Look at that. That was horrid. And I remember that was one of the first things I looked at when I said, well, if you're going to keep this, first thing you're going to have to do is give her a nose job there. Anyway, so gonna have to move on quick here because I'm running out of recording space. If it fails, I'll simply put it on the next vid. But moving right along, let's see what we got here. Right. Okay, I'm gonna pause it so I can get on cue here, so I won't waste space. Hold on. Folks, I'm going to kind of race through this one because there's quite a few development photocopies here. Okay, the first thing I did, I went in with my first photocopy, right away just whited out the nose. It seemed to be the only thing I was concerned with at that time, but there would be much more. Next up, there it was, right? Without the nose, there she was, right? And then I went in on that with all that correction fluid going all the way around the drawing, carving out, carving out, carving out. Are you with me? Right. So, then, right. A little bit more white out over the eyes, etc. Drew in the new nose. And then we were looking at something like so. Moving along. See that? Still not much done, but the face is, you know, it's been cleaned up and the nose has been put in. Now it was time to get moving, and I finally made the decision that it wasn't going to be all short hair, that she was going to have a poofy kind of either big old fluffy ponytail or two pigtails, whatever, in the background there, right? Curls, whatever. Started roughing it in. See that? Roughing out the outlines there. Tightened up on the eyeglasses, right? and started moving in with the detail. Reflections on the eyeglasses, filled in the color of the hair, etc. Moving right along, right? Moving right along. Glasses are finished, top of the head finished, nose job there, the poofs of hair there. Now I knew I could start using that negative space for whatever, I don't know. Got some ideas and went ahead with them. Hold on. Again, folks, this one, like the last one, it was a matter of when I decided to go in and fill in the blank space around it. As you can see, the ink went right through. But I just went to town, and I didn't get up from it, so it didn't really go in stages. I just sat down and continued to draw it out. What you got is the kingpin in behind her. Another figure off to the right with a briefcase sitting down at a sidewalk cafe kind of thing in a patio kind of setting. Yeah, there's actually, this is going to be part of an entire page of panels. There's a whole... It's funny, as I was drawing this, trying to make it real, the story just started unfolding in my head, and I figured, well, I'm not going to write a whole story around it, but then I'm going, oh wait, this deserves a whole page, and that's what I'll be doing. Anyway, those captions, as you can see them, as they are, 3 of them, the jagged edge ones on this side, are all paste ups. I just put them right over the drawing. Like I wrote them and then put them over the drawing. The other ones, like this one and the Keys on Me, I've Been Made, and Circle the Patio one, that's those are right on the drawing. So yeah, that was that one. Ink seeping through. And so you'd end up with, let's see, final, yeah, you know. Then you'd end up with this image here. And that's, you know, that's pretty much it for that one. I did consider that out here on the road, maybe some sort of vehicle. I thought maybe a parked motorcycle, maybe a sports car, a Corvette or something, or, you know, even a truck, anything. Some bicycles, some pedestrians, whatever. But this image is going to be shrunken down. And a lot of that background imaging is just going to get clumped and cluttered. And there's a lot to read there on that particular page, so I don't want to obscure it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll put something in there later, maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up what I was doing with those images. There is one other thing I'm just going to show you quick, because I did put it on the onboard series, and I was talking about it, and I went ahead and I want to show you what the results were. 1 second. Yeah, folks, running out of recording space very quick, so I'm just going to go ahead. But I'm going to show you this one anyway. I think you remember me showing you this, our boy Infinata from the Grand Tree Lawrence. Actually, this was when they converted over to the Krantz animation with Ralph Bakshi. But anyway, I remember taking this picture just to a certain limit, you know, where I'm just doing the coarse outline, right, and leaving it really cartoony, because that's in fact what it is, right, and that was the point. And this is a photocopy of the acrylic on paper, right, and the actual acrylic on paper I have. But what I said with this one, I was definitely going to use this as an exercise with all that line work and the drapery and stuff, to use an ink brush, because I'm not familiar with it. So I did that. I went ahead and did that with the brush. I went ink brush on it, and yeah, I'm fairly happy with it. But one of the things I noticed is I had a flaw in my brush, and when I get to the ends of my lines, to the tips, they'd split. So instead of coming to a point, I'd have a split line, and that was really pissing me off. But there's nothing I could do. I kept looking, and then I'd try the brush itself on another piece of paper, and I saw the flaw is in the brush itself. It's forked, so there's not much I can do. Now I'm looking at this, and I'm a little bit concerned with this. Oh no, okay, it's just dust. There's little white dots on this, and I was wondering what that was about, but anyway, it's okay. Anyway, again, this is acrylic on paper, and look, this is going to be part of a whole series, which I can't wait to show Had some really awesome results concerning the backgrounds. I don't know if you're familiar with the old cartoon series, but there's a lot of really elaborate psychedelic backgrounds created in those. I'll get into it when I put that video up, but I'm going to show you some things that amazed me, and you may find it hard to believe how easy these images were to obtain. You may look at them and think I had some sort of aid or computer helper, and no, man, I'm telling you, it's like straight acrylic paints on paper, and what you can come up with is amazing. If you just sit down there and layer it out, it's really quite easy. It was almost like zero skill. I can't wait to share it with you. But anyway, that was my experience with the ink brush work, and I started to get the hand of it, a feel for it. But I'll tell you, it's one of those things that you got to sit down and learn, and I still have to. I'm not quite there yet. I'll put it that way. But it's going to take a lot of practice, but I definitely want to incorporate it. It has a specific look to it. It's very, I mean, it's I think it's kind of like a lost tool of the trade, but I think that's unfortunate because it just has such a fantastic look to it. I think it just gives it so much. I want to say it gives it character, but there's more to it than that. But yeah, I definitely want to start utilizing it. So there it was. So there are the ones that were on board that were completed. There's still a few that I'm still going over. I'm not going to repoint them out because people may start wondering, like, when is that one going to be finished? The thing it was that the idea was to get it done for November, but I kept adding another project onto it, and pretty soon I realized I wasn't going to be able to get them all done. But that taught me something too. That it taught me to get them done and get ready to post them when they are done, when you have your copies, everything, so the process can be shown right there. Like, don't start announcing things, I mean, sometimes you want to do the work on the spot, step by step, right? The semi-time-lapse kind of thing, but if you're talking about scheduling onboard work, it taught me that I should have it on the table and ready to go before we get rolling. But anyway, still going to stick to my word and get those things done. I want them done. But those are a few of them, and that's basically the process in preserving some of these old drawings. Like I said, there's new stuff coming up, and I can't wait to show you some of it. It was really fun, a lot of fun. Just acrylic work on paper, lots of fun. Didn't know you could achieve so much with them. What a blast! Can't wait to share that, and can't wait to show some more of the in the next episode of the self-indulgence of the unapplied, right? Where I'll be refurbishing some more work. Thanks for coming by, and hope to see you on the next one.